Hello, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Universal You. This episode's going to be particularly interesting, and I'm racking my brain thinking of a title. I'm just going to call it Astral Projection Series, Shapeshifting, and Interdimensional Tantra, because that's what we're going to be talking about, which is great. All right, let's commence. There are some things that I left out when we were talking about the astral body that I thought would be particularly interesting as an addition to the astral body discussion. So I suggest that you watch that video first. All right, it's a gorgeous day for filming, kind of overcast, really beautiful. Anyway, let's go on. So first I want to talk about the astral body as being formless. In the previous discussion, we spoke about the astral body as being similar to your physical body in that it is an imaginal representation of how you look like in day-to-day life. However, it is formless and can shapeshift, which I think is pretty profound when you look at stories of skinwalkers and other shape-shifting Native American tribes. You, when you astral project, are able to change your astral form into whatever shape you like. And the better you get at astral projecting, the more easily you'll be able to do this. The reason I'm bringing this up is because certain orders of the astral dimension can only be accessed when you're in a certain form. And bear in mind that the form that you take may be indicative of certain personality traits that you have. All right. Now, I also want to talk about interdimensional Tantra, which is a very fascinating subject, something that I've been researching for quite some time and that I'm particularly interested in. All right. So I'm going to tell you 3 stories of interdimensional Tantra, and you can gain from them whatever you see fit. All right, let's continue. So let's start with the first account of interdimensional Tantra that I am aware of occurring on Earth, and that is I and Tia. They were Atlanteans who discovered a way of reaching immortality by astral projecting to each other, performing interdimensional Tantra, and calling in higher consciousness. Their child, as a result, was immortal, and so were they. This resulted in one of the first mystery schools being started. I'm now going to go on to the story of Isis, Horus, and Osiris. Now, Isis and Horus also used interdimensional Tantra to make the immortal Osiris, although the story does get a bit more complicated along the lines, which I'll get into. But for now, let's just focus on the fact that Isis used her astral form, and so did Horus, to perform interdimensional Tantra to make Osiris. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because often in Egyptian hieroglyphics you see Isis with wings, and that's her astral form, her formless, shape-shifting astral form, which I think, again, is immensely fascinating. Let's move on to a bit of a controversial case of interdimensional Tantra, but poignant nonetheless, and that is of Joseph and Mary. For those of you who don't know the true story, this is the origin of the Essene Brotherhood. I'm going to do a video on the different secret societies, brotherhoods, orders, and mystery schools, but for now, let me just say that this is where the Essene Brotherhood started, and yeah, let me commence. So let's see, where is a good place to start? Let me start with the intention. Why not? Let me start with the intention. So the main reason for interdimensional Tantra in the case of Mary and Joseph is to affect the Akashic records and instill into the collective consciousness the realization that immortality is possible. And in so doing, they would bring about an immortal being who would ascend to immortality. Unlike Osiris, who had to resurrect into immortality. Anyway, you've got Mary, who, for those of you who don't know, is an Atlantean, and you've got Joseph, who's part of the inner circle. They astral project, perform interdimensional Tantra, call in higher consciousness, and you've got an explanation for the virgin birth, which is, again, very perspective altering. Anyway, now it's important to understand, we did discuss this when I made a distinction between resurrection and ascension. It's important to understand that in the case of Joshua Ben-Hur or Jesus, he ascended into his immortality whilst he was still alive. In the case of Osiris, he had to resurrect into his immortality. For those of you who know the story, he was taken apart and put back together and given a magical phallus by Thoth, which I think is kind of funny. Anyway, that gives you a clear idea as to the notion that immortality is very real, it's very possible, and ascension, for those of you who are practically interested in it, is a very blatant reality. Again, all of this was done to alter the Akashic records and influence the collective consciousness. So even though what I'm saying may seem a bit far-fetched, I can guarantee that you're listening to this thinking, oh, that makes sense. And the reason you're thinking that is because this knowledge is an aspect of your being in the Akashic records. All right. I just wanted to link the fact that your astral form can shapeshift with the Isis astral body, because that connection is extremely profound, at least for me. The moment I realized it, I thought, that makes complete sense. How fascinating. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to be discussing light meditation, Gnosticism, and sublimation in the next video. Stay tuned.